Welcome back, guys. Welcome, Leapers. We are back for another exciting Leapcast. This is episode 3, reviewing episode 3 of the new Quantum Leap. We got John the Driller Adams in the house.
Hey, Dave, I gotta say, I really like that intro. That was really good.
The intro I actually made on, I used Filmora. The
Gotcha.
Filmora, I've actually on the subscription of it, so I get updates. You can do like Marvel cinematic effects, and like that's just a blending of three, maybe about four different things. And I mean, if I can do it, anybody can. I plan to do a little tutorial video on that very soon. But speaking of very soon, let's take a look. And just so everyone knows, if anyone wants to leap into the stream and join the Leapers here, there's the link in the StreamYard. I have it pinned up to the top of the chat. We were using EV Mux, but we've been having a lot of issues with that lately, so we're just going to fall back on StreamYard moving forward. We got the Rolando Flores in the house.
Hey, Rolando. Good to see you.
He says he wants to leap to 1978. Why 1978? Are you trying to stop me from being born? What's going on here? Waiting.
I was 5.
I was born in October 15th of 1978. Yes, this is my birthday month. I turned 44. I don't feel nice. 44, but hey. Yeah, we got the Stream Elements bot I still have on here for some reason. Duffman's Diorama.
Duff. How you doing,
Duffster? The Duffinator.
Hope you're doing okay there, my friend. Duff man.
Everyone's saying hello to the Duff.
Because the Star Wars action figures. That's why he wants to go back to 1978.
You imagine, like, he just goes back and buys like just a fleet of X-Wings and Millennium Falcons. Still has a mint in box, and like, just imagine how much they're worth. What was that? I was watching a stream. I think it was yesterday, the day before. They were talking about like the pricing of like the original Grayskull. I think it was like originally $50 or $60 back when it first came out, or something like that. It's just like comparing like the pricing like with HasLabs nowadays. That's just insane. Rolando was 8 years old in 1978, so he was born in 1970.
I was born in 73.
Super busy.
January of 73. So
Duffman, it says he's super busy. And we lost John.
It does this. Okay. It does it once a stream. For some reason, it likes to cut my video out, and then I have to just click on it again.
I have a Keo Pro that I sometimes use, and it's been glitching like hell crazy like lately. I like to use some different programs. Like I was using something called Prism instead of OBS. It was much more user friendly, but it's glitching with my camera, so I got to figure out something else. But speaking of figuring things out, Quantum Leap, episode 3. Somebody up there likes Ben. That's the that's the name of the episode. Now, there's been a lot of haters out there saying, "Oh, they don't know. Why are they focusing so much on the?" I like how they're splitting the episode between
Me too.
The leap and what's happening in the present, because we have a mystery. We, in the old show, it was all focused on Sam, him trying to figure everything out, how he's supposed to do things, and he's fumbling through everything. The banter with Al, you can't have the same recipe. Okay? If you go to the same pizza joint every single week, after a while, it gets a little boring.
And what I think about it, too, is especially these days, like, when Quantum Leap was on the first time, most television shows, except for maybe like the daytime soap operas, most of the television shows were self-contained in each episode, and they were almost like anthology shows. There was someone in crisis that needed help, and they helped them, and then they moved on to a different. The Hulk did that, A-Team did that. It was like
Knight Rider. I mean, the list goes on and on.
The story was self-contained with what they were doing with that particular thing, and then it moved on to a different city or a different thing the next episode. But I believe wasn't 24 one of the first ones to be like totally continuous. It was around
the story arcs. That's what you're referring to.
Yeah, it was around that era. And then, so what I feel about this is we're getting the best of both worlds. Like myself, I've often said, why can't we go back to having an anthology show that's self-contained in each episode? Because even Star Trek was kind of like that. Like things happened to Worf that continued from episode to episode.
Yeah, Star
Things
Trek: The Next
happened to
Generation started at little breadcrumb, but it
yeah,
was kind of far and few.
yeah, but for the most part, those were
Yeah,
self-contained episodes.
but then you had
So
like Deep Space Nine started kind of doing continuous arc, like when
yeah,
they did the Dominion War. They
yeah, the
had,
third
you know,
season really was third
we
or
saw
fourth
that
season got
in
connected.
we saw
Yeah,
that in sci-fi. Really, we didn't really
yeah,
see that in general shows, not for many years to come.
yeah.
I mean,
But I
like
think that this is giving us the best of both worlds because I've often said, why can't we go back to that kind of show? And that's what we're
yeah,
getting with the leap part. The leap
yeah.
part is self contained in this
This,
episode, but the mystery part that's going on in the present day is
well,
the
see,
part that's going to be
I
connected
like
from
that the
episode to
leaps.
episode.
I like that the leaps are kind of taking a step back. The focus on the show is, we have the mysteries. Why did Ben leap?
Yeah.
Why did he leap? How can we get him back? Where is his destination? Trying to figure out where Janice Calvici is. There's all these different storylines that we are focusing on. In
Yeah.
The leap is kind of taking a step back. It's, the show was 90 pretty much 90 to 95% of the original show was the leap. Now
Yeah.
it's more like a 60-40 almost, or 50-50 almost, and I'm
Yeah.
liking that.
Me
But
too.
also one of the main showrunners and producer, Martin Giroux, he was behind Blind Spot. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I'm
That
familiar
was
with it, but I can't remember watching it.
it was about this woman who wakes up in Times Square. There's a big duffel bag, and someone thinks it's a bomb. They get the bomb squad there. They find that it's her. She's unconscious. She's got all these tattoos, and she's got no memory of herself. Think like Born Identity, but give the person amnesia.
Like
And
Memento?
kind of. And each tattoo was a link to some kind of conspiracy somewhere. So she was working with the FBI. It was a really fun, really awesome show. And another NBC. John,
Are we
are you
there?
there?
Are we
Yeah,
there?
I'm
Yeah,
here.
okay. All right. I was
I
like,
don't
what
know what's going
happened?
on with that. My computer is directly wired into my router, so
Me too. Mine is also.
yeah, who knows? It could be YouTube. And
Oh, Duff, man, you've had a
oh,
bad
jeez, God,
boy. You've had a bad couple of weeks, months here.
I don't even really know what to say about that, Duff man. I just hope that he's stable and he's gonna make a recovery. I mean, I'm glad he's still with you. Or no, you said he was killed last night. I'm sorry.
No, just about got. He's
Oh,
not.
just about okay.
Yeah, he's got
Then I'm
stable.
glad he's still with you. Jesus, man, I'm so sorry.
Wow. Yeah.
Uh,
I thought you guys
Rolando
leave.
says we thought he thought we leap. Don't worry, Rolando. If we leap, we're going to take you with us. We got to get you that Star Wars gear. Come on. I think we're all going to load up pretty much.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like where the leaps are going. I like the storyline. I like that it's definitely a continuous arc. I mean, the original Quantum Leap kind of was because Sam kept wanting to try to get back home, but Ben. We got questions about Ben this time around. Now Ben actually leaped into a boxer this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to grab some screens. So here he is. He's in his boxing attire. He doesn't know how to box to save his life. In fact, when he leaps in, he's in a ring sparring with someone, and the person he's sparring with pretty much knocks him out. Kind of shades of Kid Cody from the first series.
Yeah, yeah.
But here we go. This is actually who Ben leaped into. A little mirror image. There you go. So he's definitely a very strong boxer. And speaking of which, at one point, Addison is talking to Ben. She's trying to coach Ben. Now, we don't know for sure. she might have just been saying this to psych Ben, but she says, "Don't worry, when you're facing your opponent, when you strike him, you're going to be striking him with his punches, with his strikes, with his hits, which makes us think that now, have the rules of Quantum Leap changed? When you leap into the person, is it more your essences now inside that person's body? The way Addison worded it, it makes us wonder that, is it because in the old show it used to be that it was just the image of that person that Sam took on, but she made it sound as if Ben actually leaped into that person's body. So now there's a little, we don't know for sure. There's a lot of conjecture, but also in the novelizations of Quantum Leap, they kind of danced around that. One book might have it where it was him physically. Another book made it seem like it was his essence or spirit that went into the body. So those are questions that we have right now. And of all things, Addison felt a certain kind of way because it turns out that the person Ben leaped into happens to have a girlfriend. Or should we say a girlfriend who's already a girlfriend to someone else?
Yeah.
We find out that little Mamacita here is the girlfriend to his opponent, who happens to be the current, middleweight world champion or something.
Yeah.
Who Ben's about to fight in less than a day. So
she's a champion hopper. When someone gets better, a better boxer that can take out Ben's character, she's going to jump to that new guy. She's a champion hopper.
And of course, then we meet the character of Ben, his brother, who is the trainer, but also is a Vietnam vet, and he has a lot of emotional and mental obstacles to overcome because he has PTSD. He does. This is the 70s, by the way. That Ben leaped into. They really didn't know much about that back then. They didn't have therapy groups. They didn't have support groups back then. And of course, we got Addison standing right behind him, and she's just kind of like, when she sees Ben with the girlfriend, she's just she really can't find the words. And I'm sure that this is going to cause a lot of frustration down the line. How are they going to work as a team when, she's going to see him with other women, or who knows, other guys next episode. And, she's going to feel some kind of way. She's going to question, like, at what point is she going to have to give up on him, or is she going to have to try and move on with her life if it seems like he might never leap back? But I have some theories about the show moving forward.
Well, I liked how they did say, I don't know, you'll probably get to it, but they did give a number, and I liked how they gave a range so that they could, because it's very much depending on ratings and how people are talking about the show as to when they get to. I know that's why they gave a range, because the writers are like, we can't make it a dead, like, oh, it's going to be 12 leaps, because when we get to that point, people are going to expect it. So they gave a range because they could say, if the show isn't doing that well, we could do it towards the earlier of the range and hopefully get like a big influx of people.
And what John's referring to is there's a point in the show where back at the project, unfortunately, I don't have a clip. I don't have a scene for that one. But they talk about at the project that they believe that it should take up to 20 jumps or 20 leaps potentially for Ben to get to his destination.
They said 10. They said 10 to 20. 10 to 20 leaps.
10 to 20 leaps. Okay. So with that being said, that's about a full season right there. So we could come to, that way they can kind of write, if they think that they're not going to get picked up, they can write maybe a season finale or a series finale, so to speak. Or they might leave it open-ended. They might do a movie or something else.
Yeah.
But very interesting, and I'm sure John's going to chime in on this part, when they're talking about the trajectory.
Oh, that was great, wasn't it?
There's a little bit of science there, guys, where they talk about that, normally to reach a certain point, it would take longer. It could take, maybe years to reach to a certain point. But the way Ben has kind of removed the safeguards that he's leaping outside of his lifetime, that there's an arc within the can you really call it a continuum, or is it more of a temporal waypoints, I guess could be a better term.
Yeah.
Where if he's going at a curve to kind of build up momentum, kind of slingshotting himself so he can hit the targets.
Yeah.
Hit the target, so to speak, to his destination, which we really don't know what the destination is.
Well, they haven't. I think that the characters in the show said they had an idea of what the destination could be, but they didn't actually let the audience know yet. I think they
Vern,
you know what I mean?
Vern, you hit the nail on the head right there. He leaped into the past and he fixed somebody's problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you know? Are you a time traveler, Vern? And I'm jealous. Vern got his selfie figure and from Hasbro, and it looks pretty damn good. But still, the way my image came out, I'm like, no.
It didn't look like you, Dave. Yeah.
No. Probably John Connor and Stop the Rise of the Machines. Unfortunately, no, that movie was still made. No, he leaped into the 70s, Vern. He leaped into the 70s.
He somehow stopped Kenner from picking up the Star Wars line, and now we don't have any Star Wars figures.
Oh, geez.
Ah!
Or a teenager who needs to stop his mentor from selling something in the mall parking lot. And no. Close, but no. It's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you ever watched DC Legends of Tomorrow. One of the
oh yeah, I remember that
one of the, like second season or third season, they actually come across they had to go into one there was one anachronism from time where they actually had to go and save a former teammate of theirs who was brainwashed and who was actually playing a part in preventing George Lucas from going into filmmaking. And at one
I don't remember that episode.
And at one point, Lucas never went to film. So they, like all the guys, like the one guy who was inspired to become an archaeologist because of Indiana Jones. Well, now he didn't know anything. He knew completely nothing. Like he didn't even go to college. Wow. So it was like a big, massive ripple effect, and they kind of had to set things right. And it was bananas.
I don't remember that episode. I'll have to go check that out. That's funny.
70s, yep, 1970s. Well, you can tell from the clothes there.
Yeah.
I will say this: I like in the scenes where they show the 70s, like the footage looks practically HD. Because remember the original Quantum Leap, like the like what they would show like for background or just for like like passing the time, it looked very aged and stocked from decades.
It looked like some of it looked like stock footage back then. Yeah.
Did he prevent a young lady from going for a swim at night? No, he didn't. League of Legends, DC Legends of Tomorrow. That was the show. I was just thinking about it, Dave. See, great minds. But the premise is that the person Ben leaped into was about to go for do a championship match, a boxing match, but that person originally lost. Which makes us even wonder, why is he even there? Because he doesn't know how to box. But we find out that the boxer he leaped into, the guy's brother, who's the trainer, has a lot of emotional issues and eventually would wind up dying, committing suicide at some point. But also, if he loses the match, they also lose the gym, they lose everything. So is this guy Rocky Balboa? Not quite, no. No, not quite. But after they go for a weigh-in, like boxing matches often do, and well, they actually got arrested. I should say the trainer got arrested. The trainer got arrested because of the champion trying to start a fight with him, and he could have walked away, but he didn't. There was that machismo, that macho-ness that he could just let go. And so what Ben does, Ben gets his ass arrested too, to kind of keep an eye on his brother, so his brother wouldn't get into too much trouble or get hurt. So it's definitely. And here's the thing: we find out Ben didn't have any family. He didn't have any siblings. He was an only child, supposedly.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I thought that he might have known, like if he got put in jail with his brother, because they said once he went into jail, his brother didn't get out for the fight. But someone would get. He probably knew someone would get him out because he had to do that fight with the champion. You know what I mean? They weren't going to let.
No, actually, Vegas, Vern. Vegas.
Neither side was going to let him, like, not go to the fight. You know what I mean? So he knew. I think he knew someone would bail him out. I'm not sure if he knew who would bail him out, but he knew someone would, and by default bail his brother out because she said in the original timeline, Ben went to the fight and the brother stayed in jail, and that's why the brother lost the fight because he was distracted by his brother being in jail.
And here you got the brothers having a heart-to-heart. Ben is trying to talk him into going to seeing a doctor to pursue some kind of therapy. And of course, there was no groups back then. There was no support groups. But on the flip side of this, at the same time, back in the present, back in 2022, they're still trying to get a lock on Janice. They're trying to figure out where Janice is. Mm-hmm. But here's the best part. we start to see that Ziggy is running very slow. Ziggy is very low responding. Now, in our previous Leapcast, we've talked about possibility that maybe someone was hacking into Ziggy, because ever since episode 1, Ziggy's been running very laggy or having issues, crashes, and we thought that this was due to the code that Ben supposedly uploaded. So we thought that that's what was going on, but we later find out, and we'll get towards the end, but we see Janice show up at her mother's house with wine, wanting to kind of talk to her mother, but she has an ulterior motive. We find out that her mother, Janice is talking to her mother, and she says, "Oh, I know you blocked me from being part of PQL," referring, a little acronym, a little abbreviation for Quantum Leap.
Yeah, she stopped. And she got magic to basically not let her in. Yeah.
And that begs the question, one, obviously Janice is super bright, but also she seems to be a little bit dangerous, because she came there because she wanted to get some of her father's things because apparently Al had a stash of items from Project Quantum Leap that he shouldn't have had possession of. But of course, he was the head of the project. He can pretty much do whatever the hell he wanted. Uh-oh. We got a Sleeping Collectibles leap to the future. Hey, you never know. With Quantum Leap, with Quanta, anything's possible.
Yeah.
The rules of Quantum Leap are out the window. Speaking of out the window, we got Steve-O. We got Collecting Star Wars here. Oh, and we got the Almighty One himself. We were talking Star Wars, and Blue Harvest shows up.
Look at that, Mark's here.
Just saying a quick hello. Not seen episode 3 yet, but I'm loving the series. Just wait until you see this episode blows you away, Mark. That's all I'm going to say. So if you want to hop off, we're talking spoilers here. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, you go ahead and leap on to the episode and check it out. But they're definitely bringing their A game each episode. Just when we think like, okay, we're getting some information, and then they give us another. They're keeping it engaging, I think. And I'm loving it.
I agree.
This is a spoiler-laden stream. Yes, it is.
Yes. Yes,
you can't take a step without getting something in your shoes, okay? We got Ferris. Ferris, how you doing tonight? I still think that someone bet millions of money on Ben to raise millions for their Elite project, but I'm swearing it was Sam in this episode.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's part of a theory. Okay, not the Sam part, but I have a theory as to what motivated Ben to do the leap in the first place, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Gap, hey Dave, hey John, hello everybody in the chat. I just came to say hello. I haven't seen the last episode of Quantum Leap, so I just want to leave it with no spoilers for me. So I shouldn't tell you how like George Lucas shows up. No, okay.
Yeah, they stopped Kenner from making Star Wars figures, so
everyone is saying hello. We aside from sleeping, aside from Ferris, aside from Mark Blue Harvest, we have another
Rick.
icon of YouTube. Left
Rick.
Coast Graphics. What's shaking? I have not watched, but I do not care.
Yeah.
Well,
Rick.
Well, see, we know what show Rick is trying to get casted in. Peacemaker.
Yeah, right.
He wants to get in Peacemaker too. No. Catching up on the chat here. It was a great episode. Bringing in Vietnam vets might be a string thing. You know, the whole Vietnam vet thing was almost make me wonder, like, because when they mentioned how his brother, the trainer, was a Vietnam vet, I was wondering, could he have known magic? Could a younger magic maybe make an appearance? We don't know. So that's why I was making like, wait a minute, there could be a certain road that they can take with this to find out more about magic. Because personally, I would love to see more. Now, through the episode, at one point, Addison collapses because she's burning the candle from both ends.
Yeah.
She's not sleeping because, I mean, well, it's, this guy Ben was going to be her husband. And everything she knew about him has been turned inside out and flip upside down.
And I thought that was a good parallel to what was going on between. So Ben is in the brother of this trainer. Yeah. And they had a conflict of the brother not taking care of himself.
Exactly.
And Ben had to convince the brother to get help, and basically saying, if I win the fight, you got to promise to get help, and blah, blah, blah. And they have a heart-to-heart, like you mentioned. And then you got Addison in the future doing the same thing. It was sort of a parallel. And later in the episode, Ben has to have a small heart-to-heart with her. It's not as intense, but
Ben actually makes her promise to take care of herself.
You got to take care of yourself to help me, know. Yeah.
That was making me think that part of Ben's subconscious is peeking through his Swiss cheese memory, saying, will you leap with me all the way through?
Stay here with me.
It's almost like, he's remembering parts of her, and there is a scene where that's almost happening. But hey, Rick, you never know. Mr. Gunn could be in the chat. We don't know. He could be a big Quantum Leap fan. We don't know. Something to tie in Al and Magic. Yeah, definitely. For all we know, he could have been part of, a platoon that saved Al, or he might have known Magic. We don't know. Peacemaker goes to Canada. Let's catch up. Nice.
But I mean, what 100,000 people went into that war. Not everybody met everybody, though.
Yeah. But I mean, with the whole thing that, Magic wound up at Quantum Leap. And for all we know, these leaps.
And based on what the mother said about, like, the daughter Janice was like, you talked to Magic. You didn't want Magic to include me in the project. So that means it was Magic's project from the beginning. It was Magic's idea, right?
Well, I mean, Project Quantum Leap began with Sam and Al, because Al met Sam at Project Starlight. And in one of the Quantum Leap novels, it actually tells the whole story of how they actually met, because Al was beating the crap out of a vending machine, completely frustrated, and that's how him and Sam met, and they became friends right after that.
Yeah. But I mean, I would have thought that the new Quantum Leap, like this, would have been like Al's project, and Al would have found,
Al's baby, and he handed it to Magic.
Yeah, found Magic to help with it, but it sounds the other way around. Yeah. It sounds like Magic spearheaded this thing, according to what we know from this episode.
And that begs a question, like, how much involved was Magic? How much does he remember? That's another thing. How much does he remember of his interaction with Sam Beckett? I mean, hopefully this is stuff we're going to find out a lot more moving forward. But what I like is, like you mentioned, the parallels. Okay. We also find out that Ziggy is running very, very slow, And of course, when Janice is at her mother's, she says, "Oh, I'll start the water," and she actually drugged her mother's tea. Her mother, she basically tells her mother, "I know that you did this. Listen, I want my dad's things, all his things from Quantum Leap."
Yeah.
And the mother's like, she's trying to deter her, and then the mother starts feeling dizzy, woozy, and she actually collapses on the floor. Janice went full on psycho. Is Janice off the rails? There it is at the bottom of the screen, guys. I want you guys to look at this. Is Janice off the rails, dosing her mother so she can grab her father's belongings, his private items from Project Quantum Leap, files, among other things? Is she off the rails, dosing her mother, or is she just overly passionate and she wants to complete her father's mission of saving Sam Beckett? Or does Janice have an ulterior motive, or will her motive to bring Sam back to fulfill her father's last wish, potentially? That's what I'm guessing. Will that escalate into something else? Because we see evidence that could lead to something else later on.
Well, my thought was she's not really going off the rails. What I thought was that she no longer trusts her mother, and if she already knows that if she asks for the items, the mother won't give it to her, and she won't tell her where they are. So she went into it saying, "Mom's not going to help me. The only way I'm going to get everything out of there without causing a conflict is to drug her and put her to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I can take all the stuff and leave, and she's not going to be on my face about it, you know."
And by the way, David World Toys has sent you a message, John.
Was that you that called, Dave? Or I saw the message on Twitter, but I also got a phone call, like 2 phone calls. Was that you that called? I didn't recognize the number, so I didn't answer it. But
Ferris says plausible deniability and avoiding the fights. I mean, her mother's in her 70s. How much can she really put up a fight? But I mean, yeah, I get. I mean, we've seen this is what makes me think Janice might be a little bit off the rails. She had a secret lab, and she also had it set up and rigged up so that it would go on fire and blow up.
Yeah.
So that she's covering her trail, but that could be her father's military training and passing certain things on to her, because Al knew his way around the military and around the Pentagon, around DC. I'm sure he had a lot of powerful friends. So Janice could have been calling in favors. Now, we were talking about Ben's destination. What is Ben's destination? Is it to find Sam or to find someone or something else? I bring this up because we start finding out about the trajectory, the little slingshot maneuver of picking up speed or momentum when he leaps. Because the first leap was 85, and then he went backwards, or he actually went forwards to 1995 or 1998 rather. Then he goes back to 1970. It almost makes you think: are we gonna It's almost like, okay, like you're on a swing. You swing this far, you swing back. Now you're picking up more momentum. You're swinging higher, further.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what's happening? This is how he's gonna kind of push momentum. He does a leap back here so far, and then he's leaping a little bit further in the other direction. And then will he come back and then go? I mean, it almost seems like, okay, he leaped into the 70s. Now, the next year, is he going to leap into, like, say, 1982, and then maybe he leaps into 1967? It begs the question: is that how he's picking up momentum through his leaps?
Yeah,
because
it'll be
Sam's leaps were all over the place.
Yeah, they were just random. It seems
they're very haphazard. Yeah. So, basing on, I'm sure they have an algorithm, some kind of program that tracked all Sam's leaps, that at least as far as they could. And maybe Ben improved upon that, kind of figuring like, maybe I can't always hit the right target where I want, but I can kind of nudge it in the right direction. And I think that's part of it. The question is he trying to find, what's his destination? Is he trying to find Sam? Is there a family connection that he's trying to do? Or, now, the someone or something else is this: could there be an involvement with the evil project somewhere down the line? That's a question I have. You guys have heard me mention that before. Another question: who's to say that Ben hasn't been contacted by Ben? An older Ben, years from now. Who's to say that he didn't approach younger Ben before the leap, and says, listen, something is going to happen, maybe something with Addison, maybe something with the project itself. If you don't step into the chamber, if you don't go on this journey here and to this destination and reach this one point, everything you know, everything you love is going to fall apart. Who's to say we don't get something like that? It could even have been Sam Beckett that did this, that approached him. But I kind of like the idea of what if Ben's older self approaches him? But of course, then you have the problems with the paradox. You know, if you tell yourself something, then how can you go back and change things? If yourself changes things, how can you even go back to warn them? And then how can they even change things to begin with? But it's going to be interesting. Could it be Ben, or could it be Sam? Could it be Aaliyah, the evil leaper, who turned good at the end of her arc? You know, could there be could there be the evil project, or could there be another project somewhere in the future that reached out to him? Those are tons of questions that are going on in my psychotic mind right now.
Yeah.
You know,
see, I still lean towards it's all connected to Sam, and like finding Sam, because that's what Al's idea was. And like the mom said, Al was obsessed with finding Sam. I didn't want you to be obsessed with the same thing. You know what I mean? When she was talking to her daughter. And and she said, well, how do you know that I'm not smart enough to actually finish what Dad started? You know what I mean? Meaning that Janice's goal was to find Sam.
Mark says, find Sam Shirley. I mean, that's the hope. That's what we all want to see.
Yeah.
And contrary to what Scott Bakula says in the public.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure, you know, what fan wouldn't want to just suddenly see Sam show up and not have an idea that Scott was involved? Especially since Scott's saying, no, I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with this, or that, or that, or this. I mean, you know, it's kind of like we all know that at some point Scott Bakula wants to be involved with it. It's kind of like Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
We knew Garfield and Toby were, you know, we knew what was happening.
Yeah.
Sleeping says the slingshot move is interesting. Yeah, there's a very cool scene where they actually discuss.
They show the points.
It was like they're talking about like a meteorite or some kind of maneuver that was done by a craft or something.
Voyager slingshot around the
Voyager slingshot. Yeah, to get around things. And I like that they're actually they're giving us some real science fact, because the most science we had in the original show was there was a couple times Sam fiddled with nitrous oxide in Kamikaze Kid episode with drag racing, but we really didn't get a whole lot of science except for like the episodes when they talked about string theory. Okay. And I did get a few hints of Professor Lenegro towards the end, and John knows what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's catch up here. You have to go forward to go back further. Yeah. You know, 2 steps forward, take, you know, take 2 steps back and 1 step forward. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Swing theory? No, string theory. Swing theory is something else. And I have my keys hanging up. They're not in the fishbowl. I'm sorry. Swing theory. I like it. So leaping in your own lifetime is off the board. Yeah, right now.
Well, they said in this episode, they explained why. They were like the
Ben removed all the safeguards.
Yeah, Ben removed the safeguards in the code that would keep him within his own lifetime. And
because that was Sam's whole thing was, you know, we were always told that Sam could leap within his own lifetime. We were never told why. But apparently those were safeguards.
What it is that like, from the moment you go back in time, like if you're going to a time frame that's close to you, you can do things that create a divergent timeline in a sense. But if you're very close to your timeline, that divergence might only be a gap of this wide. But the further and further and further and further back you go, that gap gets wider and wider. It's like a cone.
Yeah.
And within that cone, there's a lot of bouncing around that can happen. And you can get lost inside that cone. So the further back you go, the more likely you are to get lost. And what they must have calculated was, if you stay within your own lifetime, the divergence isn't that far. But once you go back hundreds of years, the divergence could be so far off from where you are that you could get completely lost. And Ziggy, it might be a limitation where Ziggy can no longer track you because you're so far removed from your time.
Ziggy could only track based on historical documents, so there was that.
That too,
but obviously,
that too.
I mean, hypothetically, what if Sam uncontrollably leaped into the medieval times
or dinosaur times? I mean, 65 million years ago.
He. Well, I don't see him leaping into a T-Rex, but
that's true. Yeah,
but
an Australopithecus or something.
But I mean, also, if as a time traveler, if you got stranded, you would want to be stranded somewhere within your own lifetime because you would know basic historical events and surroundings.
That's another safeguard.
Because,
you're right. Yeah.
I mean, if
it's more familiar to you.
Back to the Future 3, Doc Brown winds up in the Old West, but he was an avid fan of the Old West. He mentioned, if I would have wound up at the Salem witch trials, they probably would have burned me at the stake as a heretic.
Yeah.
It's, because if you have certain knowledge, you also have to keep that knowledge to yourself. Look at Star Trek, Temporal Prime Directive.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in another in a planet's history, you have to find yourself a secluded place and keep yourself out of history's way, so to speak. So I mean, I love that they're kind of throwing at all the caution to the wind. They're breaking all the rules they established. But it begs the question, where, why, what is the destination? Because we're all assuming it's Sam. Everyone's assuming it's Sam, but I'm wondering if it's something else. If there's some other tipping point. But here's a question. How messed up would it be if his destination was actually 1995? Stalin's Gate, New Mexico. What if his mission is to stop Sam from leaping in the first place?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
In the same damn first place.
That could be Janice's plan. Yeah, Janice might be like, the way we save Sam is by leaping into that.
You stop him from you stop him from leaping. What if the exact target is the moment that Sam's leaping, so that it's not Sam that leaps, but it's him that leaps? But then that creates a massive paradox because, again, how it's what they call the grandfather paradox, if I'm correct. How can you go back and kill your grandfather if your grandfather is killed before your father and your parents are even born? How can you even go back there to begin with? It's a big, massive paradox. How can you do that?
Well, that's assuming there's only one timeline. Like if
I wrote an Evil Leaper story before it came on the show. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Trust me. I wrote some Quantum Leap fan fictions a few years back. One actually was a concept for someone that Sam leaped into during his leaps. They still had they had part of Sam's memory still inside his head, like traces of his theories. And they and this person was actually like he was like a grandson to Mo Stein. So he took some of his his grandfather's old equipment and he started building his own pseudo accelerator, like a makeshift accelerator in an old factory. But the project was trying to find Sam, but they locked onto this guy instead. And they leaped him to the future, and he happened to be the missing link, the missing key point to saving Sam by bringing him back, because my theory was that each person that Sam leaps into, there is a quantum trail, like quantum exhaust, and they would be able to backtrace it to find out where Sam was. That was a crazy little concept. The point in time where he tells his ancient self to make fire so they can make quantum leap in the future. So he leaps into Cro-Magnon ancestral and creates fire. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Cat in the house.
Hey, Cat.
We got the cat attack. Well, we don't have the lack attack, so we gotta have the cat attack. Cat, how you feeling tonight? Blue, everyone's saying hello to Cat. That's an obvious precursor to Quantum Leap, Time Tunnel. John, I know you saw that show.
Oh yeah.
A government project about time travel. Uncontrollably jumping from different points in time. Yeah. Hey, Mark, Rolando, Duffman. Everyone's saying, hey. No, not that point in 1995, but I guess while we're there, we might as well pick up some Power of the Force too. Rolando just wants all the Star Wars stuff. Kat says, hey, Steve-O. As life was changed in the last episode, wouldn't that change Sam's history in Quantum Leap? Well, yeah, obviously there would be ripples. There would definitely be ripples, but who's to say, because Sam and Al were good friends, that Sam was now... Now, here's the theory. This might blow some people's minds. It probably won't. I'm sure John has already considered this. What if, because Sam and Al were best friends, obviously, and they were friends all this time, that because he was maybe Uncle Sam, no pun intended, to the Calvici daughters, that maybe Sam was an inspiration, and that's why Janice went into physics, and that's why she's so brilliant.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I thought, yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm getting from it.
The other thing I always thought was weird about this was like Mark bringing this up, was that Sam said in the old show that Beth was his first wife, his first marriage.
Yes.
And he had been married 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So
after Beth, of course.
Yeah, and I could swear that he said with some of those wives he had children.
I don't recall and that. Then, so
because I remember there was an episode where he taught where Sam was like, "Well, what would your kids say?" or something like that, and he was, and it was like an off remark or something, but it was like clear that he had kids with somebody.
Yeah, well, that never happened. Now that he,
so I was like, yeah, so if he stayed, if because they fixed it so he stayed with Beth, and then had the daughters with Beth. I was like, then all those other marriages didn't happen. And if he did have children with any of those people, those children no longer exist.
And honestly, here's one for the very last season of the original Quantum Leap. Remember, he leaped into Dr. Ruth. Dr. Ruth has that conversation with Al, how he loves Tina differently than he loved Beth. So here's a question. Now that time was changed, now that begs the question, how did that leap turn out? Or did a different leap actually transpire from that, or did it just resume like it normally was, with the exception of the interaction between Dr. Ruth and Al? So that's also another thing, because that seemed like a waste of an episode after how they ended the series by Sam fixing Al's life. The original series was set in 1999. Technically, the very first episode was 95, but it ended in 99.
It ended in 99, yeah.
But they said it was 30 years ago. Well, yeah, I mean, 2022. I get that. That's probably where I'm sure they were referring to when it started.
Yeah, 95 to 2025 would be 30 years. But
we got Francois or Francis Xavier is in the house.
They're rounding. They're rounding. That's what they're doing. Yeah.
Hammies in pajamas. Everyone's saying hello, hello, hello. Dropping links like it's nobody's business. Thank you, Rolando. That is the alternate. That is number 2. That is channel number 2 for Mark Blue Harvest. So please check it out.
Yeah, he's got some good drone footage and history stuff on the other channel. It's good.
But and there's Collecting Star Wars. Please check out Steve-O. But going on now, we find out after the drugging of the mother is waking up consciously, and she calls Magic later on, and we'll get a little bit more into that. Now, this part we have both trainers, both coaches here, because Addison's giving Ben some coaching, because the person Ben leaped into is actually southpaw, left-handed, and Ben's right-handed, so that kind of made things even more complicated. I think there was a missed opportunity for some funny scenes. Like I was waiting for like kind of like real steel moments where there's shadow boxing.
Yeah,
But we barely got a little bit of that, just a sprinkle. And at one point, the brother actually says, "You know what? Yeah, I want you to fight right-handed. I want you to shift your movements around because that's what Addison's whole plan was."
Addison yells out, "You should do it with your right hand. Switch your." And he says, "You want me to use my right hand?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Use your right." Yeah.
And of course,
it'll throw off his opponent.
We'll get into this scene in a second. Of course, after because they have a little heart to heart after the match because Ben actually wins. He actually wins. Where's the?
Yeah.
I'm missing that picture scene. Okay, sorry about that. So he actually wins the match, and after the match, Addison has a conversation. Come on, you should have just named her Madison. Addison is just throwing me off because you don't hear too many people name Addison nowadays. Just saying. Thank you for throwing those links. Real Steel, great movie. Yes, it is. And I hate to say this, they're developing that into a TV show. I think Disney Plus is doing it. I'm not too sure how that's going to work out.
Huh.
There you go, David Roll Toys. Thank you for throwing that link out, Rolando. But here's a scene where Addison tells Ben the truth. She actually gives him. That's one thing I like about the show. They're actually telling him information. Because in the original show, that was kind of like, okay, we can't tell Sam anything about what's going on at the project necessarily, or things that could impact the future. Speaking of impacting the future, everyone give a howl for the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack's in the house. Wolfpack's jumping in the chat. But she actually discloses to him that, by the way, it's not going to be the next leap or the leap after. What it looks like you're going to be leaping for some time. That could be maybe 20 or more leaps. So she tells him that, listen, you're not going to be leaping the next leap or the next leap after that. We don't know exactly when you're going to make it back home. Because of what you did, that coding that you put into Ziggy, that we know you're headed towards a destination. We don't know where it is. And we don't know how long it would even take you to get there or to get back. So, I mean, that right there is kind of, that's the like, okay, like, wow, like that's kind of something heavy to drop on him. And second, this is also the scene that John was talking about where Ben tells Addison, listen, are you going to leap with me? Are you going to come with me through all these leaps? And if so, I want you to take care of yourself. Everyone's giving a Wolfpack howl. Wolfpack saying hello to everyone. Made it through the hurricane. That's awesome, Francis. I'm glad you made it through the hurricane. Glad to be back to the stream. Like this new episode. I just hope they speed up the background story of what's going on with the leaps and the final destination. I'm sure it's picking up a lot of steam.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot in this episode, I thought. Yeah.
Now, afterwards, this is an image. This is a photo of the original. Let me see. Come on, there you go. Of the hand link from the first show. Why am I showing you guys this? Because this actually, not this exact one, but something just like it, makes an appearance in the episode.
Yeah.
Among the things that Janice stole from out of her father's belongings from her mother's house is a bunch of files, data, some other components that we probably aren't even aware of. But she also stole one of his hand links, which explains why Ziggy is having these slowdowns, because they actually find out that someone could be accessing Ziggy. They can't run commands, at least as far as the project is aware of, but they can read files. It's like you can listen in on someone. And now that Janice has the hand link, she can do a world of damage with it, because the hand link always allowed Al to access Ziggy, whether he was in a car or anywhere. He could access Ziggy and Ziggy's files.
And there was they showed a small Cerebro machine.
Yeah.
that she's building in that room.
They showed a dome-like contraption of some kind that's not fully completed, but it begs a question, and that question is: imaging chamber or makeshift accelerator? John is calling it as an imaging chamber. I'm thinking that would make the most sense.
Because it's shaped the same as the one they got in the.
Yeah.
It's shaped like the one that we saw her in the, was it the second episode?
Kind of. But also the one Addison
like
Cerebro.
It looks like Cerebro.
The one Addison is in is much more cavernous, and there's more
more
heavy duty equipment.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that this imaging chamber that she's going to be using is going to be very close. I think we're going to have a door. I think we're going to have a kind of an old school effect to go with the hand link.
There you go. Yeah.
Before the stream, John and I were discussing, and John was calling it that, you could have Janice projecting herself to Ben so that they're working together. But the question is, with Ben's Swiss cheese memory, will he even want to trust Janice, or is his Swiss cheese memory just a ploy? Is he playing dumb? That's something that I'm wondering because they say, oh, well, we knew memory loss could be a possible side effect, almost as if they weren't really counting on it being that way. But, I mean, unless Janice is going to have some kind of way to trigger Ben's memories of her, which begs another question.
Well, I mean, that took a little while in the first show also, the original show. The first couple episodes, Sam didn't have his memory, but it all came back to him after a few episodes.
More or less, yeah. But I mean, at first, Sam was completely Swiss cheese up the wall.
Yeah.
But it begs the question: Ben didn't seem all that kind of Swiss cheese, so to speak. He couldn't come off that distorted. But that begs the question. I mean, with this, I mean. Here's the question. Here's another question. Can they trust Ziggy? Can Ziggy be trusted, or should Ziggy be taken offline, or maybe use a backup of Ziggy? I misspelled Ziggy there. Sorry.
Zoggy.
That isn't networked. In other words, a version of Ziggy that is like in a quarantine computer, not connected to other networks, possibly cutting Janice off from that version of Ziggy. Like almost, they could have two parallel Ziggies going on. That's one theory. I mean, if someone is accessing your computer, okay, if let's say you're working with Microsoft because your computer's all buggy, you let them have access to your computer, but you think that something shady's going on, so you pull the plug, you pull your internet connection, and they're no longer connected to your computer. You can still do whatever you want on your computer because it's not networked. Okay, so that begs the question: what they could do is they could pull record files from other sources, transfer it onto a separate computer, and then load it into Ziggy so Ziggy can process those files separately, preventing Ziggy, he, her, or it from being networked directly to the internet, allowing other people access. At least that's how I'm viewing it. Because, I mean, Ziggy was in the old show, Ziggy was the center point, the focal point of everything. She controlled the accelerator, the imaging chamber, coming up with all the theories on what Sam needed to do at different points in time. So that begs the question, if your computer that's running everything is running slow, what are you supposed to do about it? And I loved it. We got a little bit of it. We didn't get the whole bang, but did you catch it? Did you catch it? Addison holding her hand link and kind of shaking it a little bit. Like, come on, work.
I didn't see her.
There's a blink and you'll miss a moment where
she
kind of shakes her hand link.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that the image I have an older image that came out right before the show did. Let me just come on, let me pull that out. Let me just exit that out. We'll remove that right now. We don't need that. There's a scene where she's holding a bright new version of the hand link. Let me see if I can pull that up. I'm trying to pull it up right now for you guys, where she's holding a different version of the hand link. It looks more rectangular, kind of like the old school link, but it's much, much, much brighter. So that begs the question, after they find out that Janice is using her father's old hand link, do they construct a similar one to kind of combat her in a way? That's going to be that's one question I have in my head.
That's what's going to be interesting is like, are they going to even know that Janice is back? Yeah. I mean, clearly, I mean, from what I think right now is Janice is going to try to link with Ben, and Ben's going to look like to his left and see Janice, and look to his right and see Addison, but Addison and Janice won't know each other's there unless Ben talks to one and then talks to the other, you know, and is a liaison between the two. You know, oh, Addison just said this, and then he's like, Janice just responded to you with this. Oh, Addison says, oh, Janice says, oh, Addison says, you know what I mean? Like, so, but would he even bother doing that? Like, if Janice shows up and he recognizes her, he might not. It might all come rushing back to him, and he might not tell Addison that Janice is there. Or the other scenario would be Janice pops up, thinking that Ben knows what's going on, and Ben doesn't remember anything about her, and he looks to Addison and goes, "This other girl just popped up here. Who the hell is this?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you have two people in the imaging
thinking
chamber
that maybe it's someone at the project kind of doing backup?
Yeah, and then Addison will be like, "No, we didn't send anybody else. I'm alone here."
Mark says he's going to 3D print Al's hand link. Dude, if you do that, let me know. Let a brother know, because I'm still trying to calibrate my printer. There's tons of stuff I want to print once I get everything calibrated. That is, I don't want Ted to go off. That big chamber probably uses a city's worth of power. Who knows? We got Rogue Demon. Let's catch up here. Late to the party. Party starts whenever you show up. I can shake my phone to wake it up and bring up a prompt. Nice. There are people who make hand links that fully light up. They even play the music theme, but I don't have $900 to spend.
Yeah,
there's a guy that literally charges that much for the replica hand links. It's insane. But I mean, some of his props are amazing, though. Let me see if I can pull up. Yeah, replica props. Let me just pull this up here. I'm sorry, $650. $650.
Wow.
$650, and like, there you go. I mean, it looks amazing, and it does light up, and I mean, it's just. I mean, that's just killer.
That is neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
But yeah, I mean, that's the one I saw actually plays music.
If you 3D print that, you got to get all the translucent colors of each one. It can't be the solid plastic. You got to get the.
I mean, John, wouldn't you love something like that?
Oh, it'd be
maybe
cool.
Not for
not for $600, but
yeah.
I
would love that. Speaking of loving things, guys, I want you to do me a favor. Help out our brother. Help out Duffman's Diorama. That's the link to his GoFundMe. Please help him out. He's in very, very tough time of need. So please help him out, guys. Do me a favor. He's always helping everyone else's streams. Please help him out. Let's catch up. Francis says Ben's new code should have helped with memory problem. Also, Janice might have introduced alternative code to re-scramble Ben's memory for some evil reason. Maybe the start of the evil leapers. Yeah, I've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
We could have the evil project, or maybe the evil project approached them. We don't know. There's a lot of things we don't know. But Janice is acting as someone who would do anything to fulfill her father's wish of finding Sam. There could be something else. But if she's thwarted with all the information and resources that she has with Al's hand link, and who knows what else that she has resources to, that she might be the person that starts up the evil project. That her access of Ziggy, if they did a separate Ziggy, that could be the beginning of Lothos. We don't know. That could happen. That might not happen. Those are all possibilities.
Yeah. The thing is, I couldn't see. I mean,
so much later in the timeline, from Sam's perspective, that could have been, I don't know, 30 years.
I don't think I could see Janice creating an evil leaper, because the evil leaper from the old show was clearly like working to essentially kill people and make their lives go really bad. And why would Janice want everyone to be dead and have their lives go horribly wrong? Like, it doesn't, that, when her goal is to save Sam, you know what I mean?
Her mother already won against her. It seems like almost everyone is against her. I mean, you go down a dark road, you can end up anywhere. You can end up in a better place. You can end up in a darker
I don't think she's going down a dark road. I think she stated her goal was to save Sam.
No,
you know what I mean? So, but just like her father's goal.
Sure. I mean, do I want to see her go down that road? No. But I'm open to the possibility, because that's what time travel is about. Quanta is about the infinite number of probable possibilities that could potentially happen. I mean, we saw it where Al was replaced for half an episode.
Yeah.
By Sinjin. Was it Sinjin Smythe or something? That was his name or something like that? It was something St. John, they call him Sinjin, played by Roddy McDowell from Planet of the Apes and Fright Night. I mean, it's going to be, and that reminds me of something else I thought of. Casting wise for the show, if we had someone leave the show, let's say an actor wanted to leave the show, there's an easy way to write that person out. Because the one actor who plays Ian happens to be a feature actor in the Sandman TV series. So if there's a scheduling conflict and Ian has to be written out, you can have a leap where things are restructured. Speaking of restructured,
hey.
We got Wolf Doggy Dog himself. We got the Wolf Pack in the house.
Howdy, guys. Howdy. What's up, Leapcasters?
How you doing, man?
What's going on, guys?
Gotta let him open up the beverage.
Cheers to you, boys. Just got off work.
Sip it if you got it. Go right ahead. So, since we've been discussing the episode, what are your thoughts on everything that happens?
As far are we breaking it down episode by episode or series as a whole with the 3 episodes in so far?
We've been talking episode 3, this last episode.
So you could pull it in together with what happened so far. You know, do you got an idea for what's going on or what the game is?
Yeah, no, we're veering very far away from it, but I'm still pulling for Sam's daughter to be somebody in the cast, possibly a hologram.
Sammy Jo. We know she was part of the original project. I mean, who knows? I mean, she could be, for all we know, she could be working with Janice as a go-between between the project and so anything's possible. I mean, I still think that is an untapped resource, and I think that's going to be a surprise twist at some point. Sammy Jo Fuller is going to come up at some point.
Yeah, that could be.
You know, but I mean, how did you feel when you saw the hand link?
Definite callback, definite fan service. A couple, last time I was on, I think, or even in the chat the week before, we talked about how you have to give those subtle,
those little Easter eggs.
Nods. Yeah, subtle nods, Easter eggs to the original fan base, which is. It's sad to say because it's a 30-year-old show, so you have to be probably at least 30 years old to be in this, in the fan base of the original one. Not to say that the old one couldn't pull in younger fans today if they were to watch it.
Yeah, and I did point out to John, it's a different hand link, technically speaking, because I've watched the original series about 30 times. And I used to have, there was a limited edition comic book series of Quantum Leap, believe it or not. That the handling that they showed in the show was a little different. So it makes me wonder, like, maybe the project kept going for further years and that was a more recent handling that Al had,
Yeah.
I got a number of possibilities.
The iPhone, so makes sense.
But I mean, she's got a pseudo imaging chamber that she's building, and that's going to be interesting to see how that actually works. Like John was saying, the hologram is tuned into the Leaper's brainwaves. So could we see both of them at the same time, or at some point and this is just the weird psychotic writer in me. John's going to give me a dirty look, I'm sure, in a minute. What if? And I'm sure you can see this happening. It might not be likely, but could be. The whole storyline of Addison not being able to sleep, kind of going out of her mind, especially when she saw Ben with that girl. What if Janice is projecting herself and Ben starts to develop some kind of attachment and feelings for Janice and not Addison?
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, let's face it, nowadays, with television writers, they got to throw that twist. They got to throw that twist out there. And what better way to kind of drive a wedge if Janice says because we haven't had Addison tell Ben who she really is to him, just that they're very good friends. Well, what if Janice says, "Oh, you were my fiance," and she's using that as a ploy to gain his trust, to get more sympathy and motivation? And what if she shows some pictures of him and her just happen to be friendly at a function, but he doesn't know any better? And I mean, there can be a lot of drama, a lot of conflict. I just think like that's something that, I mean, she's kind of shooting herself in the foot. I know she has rules, but I mean, if you don't know if your better half's ever going to return, you want to tell them everything you feel about them while you still have a chance.
Yeah.
So
you would think,
just,
yeah.
I mean, that's just a crazy little concept that I'm just thinking right there. But I mean, the whole thing with Ziggy running slow, I'm like, what if, now here's the thing, we're thinking like, obviously it makes sense that Janice is behind it, but what if something else is going on? Could it be another contingent? Could it be an evil Leaper project somewhere? Or could it be someone else who's trying to steal information?
Yeah,
we don't know.
A couple things. Let's go back to your theory with Janice. Farrah SoCal, I think, has it right. The writers could play with this for at least a season and a half. Possibly leading into 2 seasons. This love triangle thing. Another thing that my theory would have been possibly we've got a second Leaper coming into play. And that's where the second imaging chamber, Janice being or up to someone else's brainwave.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And that leads up to what Dave was what Dave was getting to too.
Like another Leaper, or what if she's using the old hand link, which I'm going to presume that the old hand link was programmed with Sam's mesons and neurons. What if she is projecting herself to someone who we don't see on camera, who happens to be Sam in some shape or form? That with her being her father's daughter, that her mesons and neurons are very close to Al's mesons and neurons, that she could be potentially trying to lock onto him, and could Sam somehow be working with her in some kind of weird convoluted way? Who knows? That's like a way out there in right field. But I mean, we've seen some stuff in the show already that we didn't see happening. Do we think that Janice was going to come up and drug the hell out of her mother?
Yeah.
That was savage.
Janice showing up at Addison's apartment when Addison wasn't there, looking for that drive. I mean, we're seeing a lot of stuff. And I will say this, like, I've seen a lot of people on the Facebook groups saying, oh, we don't have the humor. You know what? We don't necessarily need the same kind of humor. We're going to have some of the humor, like Ben being knocked out when he first sleeps in. That's obviously a nod to Sam, and when he would fumble as soon as he came in. Magic, referring to Magic as the third person towards the end of the episode when they show up at Addison's to kind of be like a support group for her and sympathy. And they were like, well, we tried explaining the show to Magic, and Magic still doesn't understand the show. I'm loving Ernie Hudson. I think he's a perfect fit in the show. But I still I'm one of those people. I try to think, okay, what's the next episode? What's the next 2 episodes going to be? They got me guessing.
Oh yeah,
I have no idea which direction they're really going in, but I'm loving it so far.
Yeah. Part of the charm of the original was that Steve Stockwell and Sam obviously were season 1 was 90% of the time it was them on screen, and they bounced off each other so well that they carried the show. We're seeing that with Addison and New Sam, right? They do. Sorry, I always got to be that guy. No, I am liking the show. Overall, I am liking the show.
You mean Sam Light?
yeah, right. Point oh. Yeah, so they play off of each other really well, and I think episode 1, I was more so I was like, I don't need to know too much about present time people, just pop in once in a while, because the original, we didn't start seeing those guys until like season 3, season 4, and it was brief. So for them to give it to us all in like episode 1,
Dr. Beaks, Gushy, we really didn't have interactions with them.
Yeah, plus you still have to find out who the people are in the timeline that they're in right now. So that's them throwing all that stuff. But the present day people, they're growing on me. I didn't really like Ian too much in episode 1. He's grown on me. He's grown on me now, and I am starting to like him as a character in present day, along with Ernie.
Yeah, Blue Harvest. I did catch they played the David Bowie song. Life on Mars was a UK show, and then it was developed over in the US on ABC Network a couple years back. It was actually a pretty cool show. Dealt with time travel, a cop who found himself in the past in the 70s.
So that the one in the show that they showed, it wasn't like this, was it?
No. The one in the show, that looks close. I'm going to see if I can pull up the image here.
See, I'm finding out that I found a catalog of all the different ones, but the image isn't that clear. According to this fan site, there was actually five different
versions of them. Yes,
handhelds in the original.
Because the first couple kind of looked like a calculator.
The first couple looked. There was
kind of clear too.
They're saying there's 3. The first one was like a clear calculator. Then they had 2 black calculators, which is, they're saying, calculator version 1, 2, and 3. And then they had 2 different ones that they're calling the gummy bear.
Yeah, ones. It looked kind of similar to this. As this is a fan made one.
And one was more clear, and the second version gummy bear was very colorful.
Yeah,
this is the writers are gonna fix that. How many times did Al smack that thing when he was smoking a stove?
Oh yeah.
There you go. Easy fix. Every year we had to upgrade because Calavici kept going through the handling budget.
I wouldn't be surprised if the cigar smoke kind of got into the circuits and kind of was messing with it too, just like the computers. But I mean, these are versions. These are some. But the one that we see, it looks kind of similar to this. It didn't have all the color,
but it wasn't as colorful. It wasn't as colorful.
It looked kind of like this one right here.
It was very plain.
The one we saw on the desk, she had it rigged up to a bunch of other computers.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it didn't look as colorful though.
This is the picture I'm talking about. That's
the one with the different. Yeah.
Do we get this because
that's a different handheld than what he's got now?
Maybe after they detect Al's old hand link, they're trying to figure out maybe a way to kind of combat that in some shape or form, or because she started kind of shaking her hand link, they're like, well, let's go with, there's an older style that we have, or a prototype, and they pull out that one. And I think this looks, I like the look of this one.
That looks cooler, yeah.
You know?
I think Ian might have given them a quick upgrade. I think.
Yeah. It's like, here, give me that little Echo Dot you have right there.
Yeah. There you go.
Give me the little Amazon device. Let's get rid of that. I mean, it looks like a speaker you see on a conference table in an office.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. So, but I mean, like, look at the old school tech we had back there. It was very bright. It was supposed to be like they had glowing earrings, and the tech they had. I mean,
pseudo future. That's what they thought the 90s would look like. Yeah.
Dennis Wolfberg, rest in peace. And that's kind of what we had, and this is what we have now. The big massive the quantum computers there. We have more realistic looking tech. I mean,
man, when he jumped into that girl at the end of this episode, I actually thought he was in a gay bar. Until they showed his because the clothes he was wearing, I was like, that's 80s. It looked like 80s style gay outfit, and I thought that he had jumped into a gay bar, but no, they decided to make it he was a woman.
I have to rewatch the pilot because I don't recall this scene. Him accessing the accelerator there. I don't recall seeing a scene like this. So this makes me wonder, is this maybe in a future episode?
I think that was in the first 30 seconds of it. I know.
I'm gonna rewatch the first couple episodes this week. Make it like a movie.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But one theory I have is, I like me and John, we were talking about the discussion about how they're using that scientific trajectory, like the slingshot maneuver for everything. But who's to say we can't have someone else step into the accelerator? And what if, remember in the original episode, the original series, they had Sam and Al trade places. What if they did something where Ben is knocked out? I think I might have mentioned this on a previous stream. What if Ben is knocked out and Addison steps into the accelerator and she sends him back, and now she's leaping? But that opens up the door that other people could do that. I mean, for all we know, we might even see Magic leap at some point. Which
I think I do remember though, Al saying that because their neurons were so
their neurons and mesons, because they were merged because of that one, the lightning strike hitting Sam when he was being electrocuted, and the lightning somehow grabbed onto Al's hologram. Which, if you think about it, how is that possible? But it's sci-fi. It's sci-fi. We're
in a Back to the Future. In a Back to the Future sort of way, I think they'd be able to get it in there somehow. Yeah, it's in the possibility.
And I mean, with these safeguards, all the safety protocols no longer there, anything is really possible.
That's big. That's big.
I mean, who's to say that Leap Force 5? Ferris SoCal says. Hey, you never know. What if there is a leap? There's some kind of big, massive surge. Something is set off, and maybe someone outside of the accelerator, someone in the control room, gets electrocuted, and somehow that link, they're activated. They're doing something with Ziggy, and somehow Ziggy channels them through. And hey, anything's possible. But I mean, it's right now the show could go in any direction. Now, I asked John this earlier. What do you think is Ben's destination?
It's got to be the Sam. It's got to be the Sam. That's I mean, without being too, don't spoil the season finale of it, but it's got to be. Why else sleep?
Yeah, I mean, because one thought I had was, could it be older Ben, or could Sam maybe have approached Ben, and that's why he went into the chamber to begin with?
Well, in tonight's, not tonight's episode, but in episode 3, the speech that he had with his brother about why have the title if I don't have you with me. That look in his eyes tells me that he's lost somebody before. That's Addison's face reacting to that. That's maybe they're just telling him that he's a single child or an only child. So that family could very well come into play in that.
I mean,
very sellable.
For him to say that, yeah, I'm an only child, maybe he's an only child because he lost someone when he was really young, right?
Yeah.
So someone like that, or he had someone that was like a brother or a sister. Yeah. We know he immigrated. Was it from Korea, if I'm correct?
Korea, yeah.
Well,
so we know
alive?
We don't know if his parents are alive.
Oh, okay.
We really don't even know what his parents' names were. All we know is at some point in time, because we found that out during the second episode when he was in space, that he looked up to this one astronaut because it was a similar story, and he immigrated when he was young, but we don't know what age that was. We also don't know who, if he immigrated and he was at a certain age, was he adopted, and who those adopted parents were.
Yeah, because I just wondered. It just thought like, well, maybe the people he lost were his parents.
I mean, for all that we know, maybe a former Navy admiral helped set up the adoption. I'm just saying.
Good work.
Just saying. Maybe a former Navy, or maybe a former Navy SEAL. We don't know. I mean, we don't know also how Ben was picked for the project. For all we know, like John was saying earlier, we find out that Magic was really the person who's running the project. It wasn't Al's project, the current iteration of it. It seems to be run by Magic so far. That maybe it's Magic's baby. So that begs the question. Because we know that Sam started the project because he wanted to travel in time. He wanted to travel in time to make things better. What's the motivations here? Does maybe Magic have something in the past he would like to change? I mean, there's all these questions. And I mean, I'm loving that we get the balance between the future and the past. It does seem like the Leaps are taking a little bit of a backseat, but with this day and age, I think we kind of have to make concessions.
Well, I mean, there've been Quantum Leap-like shows over the years since Quantum Leap stopped airing. Not Sliders. We'll leave Sliders out of that particular category. So that one's more interdimensional than time travel. But there have been many.
7 Days, Time Tracks. I mean, there's a lot of shows I could bring up. But yeah.
Yeah, and they for whatever reason they didn't have longevity. So yeah, why not try it out of the box? I was actually thinking about that on the commute home. It's like, yeah, think outside the box. Try to give us something different than we've been seeing for the last 30 years since our show was. Well, like
I was telling John before, one of the executive producers, co-showrunner Martin Giroux, did Blind Spot, and he's even worked on some of the Stargate series. So I mean, he's no stranger to sci-fi, but he also is good at writing very long, ongoing story arcs.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just like, okay, we have this person who's going on this journey, and this episode is going to be centered around this. Each thing was kind of in it, like with Blind Spot, each episode was interconnecting. It was always continuous storylines, and I think that's the way to go about it. But also, like you were saying, like the original show, that there were other shows very, very similar. They kind of had the framework of Quantum Leap, but they didn't do too well. I think also part of that is look at Scott Bakula, look at Dean Stockwell. Right. I mean, Scott was and is that everyman. He was that very relatable person. I found some failed pilots that he did back in the 80s. One was called I-Man? Where he was like a regular Joe taxi driver who gets accidentally exposed to this gas, and now he can regenerate instantly. It was like a 1984-83 kind of a pilot. It like had a TV movie, but it never went anywhere beyond that. His son was the kid from Flight of the Navigator.
Oh wow!
Okay, I remember that movie.
Okay, so I mean, like I've come across stuff. I even came across an old Irish Spring or one of those like deodorant soap commercials from the 80s, and it's got like Scott Bakula. He doesn't say a damn word in it, but I mean, Scott Bakula was always that kind of like every just seemed like Joe Average that you can get along with, right?
Oh, well, let's talk briefly about the chimpanzee episode. He's in a diaper for the majority of the episode.
Yes, he is.
So at original air date, I'm still a prepubescent boy, so I haven't yet developed body hair. right? So I'm at like 10 years old. I'm wondering to myself, I'm like,
seeing a hairy guy in a diaper.
yeah, is that what I'm gonna look at? Is that what my chest is gonna look like? Is that what I'm? But seeing him kind of pull that off, I was like, well, that wouldn't be too bad if Zach can do it. You know, but yeah, that was a little too much information, kind of a story.
Well, no, this is a safe space. We're all about sharing here.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, and also, I mean, let's face it. Let's just embarrass Wolfpack a little bit more.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
This definitely was one of the funnier episodes.
Yeah. And you know what? If you talk to some Quantum Leap fans, they say that they hate this episode. It's just it's the gambit, I guess, of Quantum Leap fans is just so different. Some things you love, some things you hate.
I mean, come on, he's hugging and holding a chimp. How can you hate that, people? Come on.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, just as great as Scott Bakula was, and I mean, let's face it, how many other actors could play those roles? I mean, leaping into African American male during the Watts riots, when he leaped into Jesse in the 50s, that driving Miss Daisy kind of kind of character, and the episode Shock Theater when he's all the egos of the people he leaped into were taking over. I don't know too many actors who could. He killed every accent, everything he did. He was killing it, and he was amazing in that. The guy could sing. Man of La Mancha episode is an awesome one.
Yeah.
When he does the leap home, he's in his teenage self. He sings Imagine. And it gets you on the heartstrings, and like not too many people could do that. But then you got the flip side. You got Dean Stockwell, who is like that one uncle everybody has. Well, we got a little echo there.
Okay. I don't know what from.
We'll roll with it. I have an uncle. Before he got married, he was like Al. Going out with different girl every night. He had his fast car. He had his Camaro. But
how did we get that?
Hello.
I closed my laptop.
Okay.
Is that doing anything?
Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, we still have it. Don't worry. We'll just roll with it. But yeah, I mean, Dean Stockwell is amazing.
Yeah, no, he's good. Sadly missed. There were some episodes in later seasons that he kind of carried them himself, like the episode when he's in the when Sam's in the mental institution. A lot of the heavy lifting was done by Al, trying to convince Toby to learn his ABCs and things, right? With
the alphabet rap.
The future rap, I guess, or I'm not sure how you would label that one.
Well, actually, on the soundtrack, it was called the Alphabet Rap. I actually had the Quantum Leap soundtrack, believe it or not. That's how much of a nerd I am. Okay.
We still echoing?
Hello.
Yeah.
No, I don't hear the echo anymore.
All right,
it's gone.
There we go.
All right, cool. Problem solved. Yeah.
But Dean Stockwell, I mean, I love the episodes like when he really gets emotional. I mean, like when he talks about his sister Trudy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like in the Jimmy LaMonta episodes. But the
episode where he runs into his former wife.
Yeah, Beth.
Yeah. Another good episode where I secretly hated Sam for that because it wouldn't have cost him very much. It wouldn't have cost him much to, how many times has he, done a couple little things on the side for himself to, with
and
Don,
I mean,
episode 2.
All those times that Al saved him, and Al helped him out with Donna.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's another thing. Are we ever gonna get find out what happened to Donna?
I mean, Terry Hatcher's still alive, so
Yeah.
Well,
And
that was young Terry Hatcher, but they had a different actress play Donna in the present in 1999 when Sam leaped.
Yeah, no, I definitely campaigned to get Terry Hatcher back over.
Oh, no doubt. Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
About it.
I love how much stuff.
We know she still got it. Come on.
I love how, like, back in the day, I didn't really realize it, but then, you know, going back and watching, it's like she was on MacGyver. She was on
a ton of shows,
Quantum
man.
Leap. She was on Seinfeld. She was in Star Trek. She
even did a movie with Andrew Dice Clay called Brain Smasher.
I remember that movie. But before all that, she was a cheerleader for your San Francisco 49ers.
Really?
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah. Started off as a cheerleader first.
Wow.
Oh.
Huh.
Great pom-poms.
You know, when we side note here, when my brother and I were at the Miami Buffalo Bills game, Buffalo Bills versus Miami Dolphins.
Sorry, that game didn't happen.
we were commenting on how a cheerleader's career gets easier as they go up in stature, because we remember the high school cheerleaders.
Hey, Sonny, what's going on?
High school cheerleaders had to do pyramids. They had to stand on top of each other. They had to backflip up in the air. They had to do all these acrobatics where people would jump at them. They'd catch them in their legs and throw them up in the air.
I'm sorry, my school is too small to have cheerleaders.
And then like in college, they do less of that. When you watch college football and college games, you might see the pyramid once in a while or some stacks, but you don't see them doing backflips and all these other gymnastic things. And then when we watch the professional football, the NFL, all the girls do is So as you go up in your career, you have to do less and less to where you're just basically not really doing anything but, hey, let's go.
Yep, definitely.
You know, and you get paid a lot more to do less.
But I mean, they had a lot of people on there. But now, let's see. Would you want them to relive or bring back people that Sam leaped into the past? Now, it would be kind of hard.
Jimmy.
Because, well, you got to figure that was what, 67, maybe 67, 65, maybe. So it'd be kind of hard, because, you know, one, back then, medicine and individuals with Down syndrome, like for them, their life expectancy wasn't that great back then.
Yeah,
I hate to say that.
25, 30, they were lucky.
You know, just look at the actor that played Jimmy.
Sadly,
he didn't make it very, very much longer after.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say one person I would love to see kind of come back, and who I would hope would be kind of like family to the Calavicis. Remember, Sam leaped into a mother, and the little daughter, I think her name was, I want to say Teresa or something like that. She could see Al.
Yeah.
Remember, Al was doing the little dinosaur hologram.
Yeah.
What if she was like a part of the family? What if Al went back and, you know, looked her up and she remembered him? You know, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. Or do you think that and I know this is kind of fan service, will we see Ben leap into someone that Sam leaped into?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Because with the new coding, you know, leaping back and forth or leaping out of your own timeline. That's going to come in clutch. That's going to come in clutch, writing wise.
I mean, supposedly there's an Old West episode that is coming up, I think, in another 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So I mean, it says that it's an Old West episode, so that begs the question: is he really going to the Old West, or is it like the Old West shootout? And it's going to be interesting to see. You know, we've seen strange things happen. Like the very last episode of Quantum Leap, we see Al's uncle is, you know, his ghost or his spirit is leaping. So are we going to run into ancestors of the Calavicis, or are we going to run into ancestors of Ben or the Beckett's or who knows what, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
definitely deep cuts. Those are definitely deep cuts for like the super fan. I think like if you're trying to appeal to the masses, which the show's I actually doing pretty good if you're watching, if you're reading Variety and things like that. So hopefully we get greenlit for season 2. Yeah. That way we can keep these things going for
fingers crossed, man. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So I think when you're trying to appeal to the masses in season 1, you don't want to make it too complex.
Yeah, you don't want to sprinkle it too much.
Yeah. Save it a little for season 2 storyline or something like that. But it's definitely a good path. It's definitely a good path to go. I would just try to suck in as much audience as we can. Just keep the story simple. Keep the stuff basic. Don't lose them too much in jumping back and forth from the present to the past. Because I technically feel like there's no in the present time that they're not in danger. Mm-hmm. Ben's always in danger in the past with his leaps. In present day, there isn't any. No, there isn't an immediate threat. We're only 3 episodes in. That's just my thought about it.
Well, now since you weren't on last week's stream, how did you feel about him jumping out of the damn space shuttle? Tell me that wasn't like one of the biggest, craziest things we've seen on Quantum Leap. I mean, we've seen Sam jump off cars or hanging out the side of a train or something like that, the trapeze. But I mean, like, what threw me and what made me question Ben's motivations is there's the line where Addison says, you don't control the leaps. And then later on, he calls back to that and says, she says, what are you doing? I'm controlling the leap.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that made me think back in my head, like, is he as naive about the situation as he's claiming to be? Or is he putting on the whole memory loss thing?
See, I don't think it's chill.
I'm thinking like there's just certain things that kind of throw me off because the original show, Sam was Swiss cheesed majority of the time. He still had majority recollection of who he was, but he would forget or like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I have a doctorate in this, don't I? There would be things like that, but I mean, we're not seeing a whole lot of that. We're just seeing like Ben is like, well, like he's trying to drive stick shift in the first episode and doesn't remember it, but he doesn't seem as lost as Sam was or as lost and confused like when Al Simo leaps with Sam. Because those are the examples that we have of people leaping. Like, Al can't even remember his last name. And he's like, wait a minute, what the hell happened here? He does remember Sam right away, but it just doesn't seem like Ben is, at least in my mind, that he's not really exhibiting that Swiss cheese effect. Could it be that he's putting on a show? That he's kind of like faking it until he can make it, until he gets to where he should be, where he needs to go. So what do you guys think about that?
I just think it's the way that the writing in today's style. You don't spend a lot of time on one thing. You write stories today where it's jumping from thing to thing to thing, so they don't spend a lot of time on the memory loss like you would have in the past. That's all I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Repeat the question. I was deep into what John had to say.
Do you think that Ben is putting on? Is he kind of putting up a facade on him having memory loss, or he might have some memory loss, but I mean, it just seems like he's not as Swiss cheese as other leapers were in the past.
Yeah, well, he's right off the bat. It kind of looks like he's not as Boy Scout as Sam was with the set on the space shuttle making that jump. He can be a bit of a wild card where Sam was. Yeah. Sam was the Boy Scout that would do the right thing. He's in bed with another guy's wife, and all of a sudden he's got the headache. One of those times. So I'm not sure that we're seeing those traits in Ben because we saw him kiss was it Angela or Gloria?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Without hesitation, even yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's living out what we wanted to, because I remember myself also being a prepubescent boy, be like, damn, Sam is the man. What is he doing?
Like all these girls, and then you find out like, wait a minute, what he's back married? Oh damn. because you just never knew. And even Sam always had it, like, even if he didn't know, he didn't know that he was married, but in his conscience, he was, he had that conscience, he had that guilt, like, wait a minute, like, this is how he still had his values, even though he might not remember those lessons as a kid. He still had those values inside of him. And we don't know what Ben's values were. We don't know the circumstances of him immigrating from Korea. For all we know, maybe he was on the run or something. Maybe his family was involved with some shady stuff. We don't know.
Yeah, he never said which side of Korea he immigrated from.
Yeah, or when.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, we just don't know. So, it's going to be interesting. I mean, next episode is October 10th. Next week. It's called Midnight Run. They renamed it. It was originally called Decent Proposal, but now they renamed it Midnight Run, which is a nod to an 80s bounty hunter movie, because Sam leaps into a bounty hunter and his partner is like going to be the fiance to the person he leaped into, and they have to protect the woman. That's going to be the next episode, and then I'm trying to find the 5th episode, which is October 17th. I'm trying, because I had an episode list here. There's not a whole lot of sites that have episode listings.
So are you saying the girl that he leaped into is going to be the girlfriend of a bounty hunter?
The girl he leaps into she's being proposed by her partner, who also is a bounty hunter. So it's like a bounty hunter couple. Think like Dog the Bounty Hunter. The early years.
I'm talking this one where Ben leapt into.
The next episode is going to be Ben leaping into a woman, because we saw that he leaps into a bar as a woman.
Yeah,
that's the precursor to the next episode.
Yeah, but that girl is in a bounty hunter team.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting.
Okay.
And anyone who's a Smallville fan will actually recognize the guy who plays the partner, Justin Hartley, who was Green Arrow on Smallville.
Oh, okay.
So any Smallville fans will, might appreciate that.
What's funny is I just saw him. I watched what was it? It was an old episode of some show with the witches. What was that show?
Charmed?
I caught no, it wasn't Charmed, but I caught part of this thing on my TV, and I was like, I just ended up watching it, and I saw him on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's, and he was like 10 years younger, he was like just out of high school or something, and I was like, that's the Green Arrow from Smallville.
Yeah, IMDb shows the next episode. They I gotta find the site that had the other episodes. They actually listed the air dates all the way through December.
Okay.
So it gave us a nice, good list. It looks like they're going to be giving us consistent episodes.
That's good.
Cool.
That's good.
But who knows? They might just run, 18 or 20 episodes, and probably maybe do like it runs like maybe mid-season, and then have some other show pick up the slack in the summer, and then maybe see if it picks up. So who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that the sucky thing about watching network TV, which we talked about how we haven't even been invested into network TV shows in a while, but yeah, the pickups, the cancellations, you have to wait. I think somewhere in like April or May is when they start announcing those, and you're kind of biting your nails.
May sweeps, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, it's one. I'm hoping that word of mouth of the fans are going to help it. I'm hoping the streaming services and DVRs are going to help it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been trying to talk to a lot of different groups and stuff. Like, that's one of the reasons why I want to do the stream. Like, get the word out. Like, hey, we all love the original show. This is not the original show. This is a continuation. And I mean, I think they're swinging it out. They're knocking it out of the park so far.
Yeah, it's been good.
I like the differences. You don't want a carbon copy.
Yeah.
That's not what any of us want. And I mean, what's something you guys, I've said this before, what's maybe a storyline, or what's something that you want to see come out of this, or come out of the next episodes with the Janice development? Do we think that we're going to see her interfering very soon, or do we think it's going to be 3 or 4 episodes before she interferes?
Oh, I think it's going to be quicker than you might think, because they went quicker with this episode than I thought they were going to do. Like there was more in this episode than I expected them to have, as far as what's going on in the present day, and so I think they're going to move that stuff along pretty quickly. They've got an idea, they've got a direction, they know where they're going with that. And like I was saying to you, I like the balance, because like I've often, Wolfpack, I've often said, like, why don't we go back to a television show that's like Star Trek or something like that, where it's the event of the week and it wraps up in that episode. I like shows that I don't have to pay attention every single episode to figure out what's going on for a whole 20 episodes in a row. Yeah. I like my self-contained story. Definitely. And I said, I think this show is giving us the best of both worlds. The Leap is self-contained as one story, but the part in the present, so the past, in a sense, the past is a self-contained story, giving you a different flavor every week. And then but the present has an ongoing arc that will last, like, the whole season. And I think that's a great mixture of both worlds, in a sense, both styles of television in one show. And I really appreciate that. And I think that and I think they're going to carry on with that. And we're going to get this 60-40 or 50-50 mix. And we're going to get a lot of what's going on in the present, I think, pretty quickly. And because I think there's more to it than what they're already leading on to. We've already got 4 or 5 questions that need answered, but I think there's more to it than just that. There's surprises that they want to have come down the road that we don't even know about or can think about yet.
Yeah, no, and to echo some of the same stuff that you're saying. I like the self-contained episode in the Leap, and then the stories in the present, and that's kind of where the cast in the present is growing on me. Episode, I was like, all right, Ernie Hudson, I don't really care about you or you. Oh, you're the hologram girl. All right, come on, you can come too. But now they're growing on me. Now they're growing on me.
Yeah.
Like I would have liked Ian to be like kind of mellowed down and written off the show, but I'm liking him now. Now he's coming with some of the he's your tech guy. He's your tech guy in present day, and you need a guy in the chair.
And they're feeling like they're coming together as a family, like we saw at the end of this episode.
Guy in the chair, and kind of like Addison's confidant in the present. Addison's sister, if you will. Sister,
well, the
brother,
other thing
cousin,
too is, speaking of Addison, the other thing to keep in mind is we also got to figure out, why did Magic want Addison to be the one to go back and not Ben? Because remember, Addison was supposed to be the Leaper and Ben was supposed to be the hologram.
Yeah. So, I'm guessing it's her military background, because she mentions her military background very briefly.
Yeah.
That she's seen this in the military. And I'm guessing that odds are that Magic chose her.
Yeah, but there still
Ben
could
was going to be the hologram, and that's how they met.
There still could be some questions and intrigue and things like that about that whole decision.
I mean, could we get an episode where he's in Desert Storm or something, and maybe he's in Afghanistan during a time when she was there, and she wants him to change something minuscule, like save someone in her squad, or some kind of regret like that. I could easily see them doing an episode like that.
Yeah, I could totally see that,
because something like that kind of writes itself, so to speak.
Yeah, and that would even be the backstory episode, or her origin story episode.
Yeah,
you knocked that one out, and definitely, and it's going to be one of those things where will you do it? Will you do it, Ben? Won't you do it? And then we're as fans, I don't think you'd be pleased either way. If he does and saves someone.
If he does it, like they're like, you're thinking to yourself, Sam wouldn't have done what you just did, I mean, unless it's something that, there's the back and forth, and no matter what it happens, it still happens the original way. I could see something like that. But I mean, yeah, like you said, if he does, if she pleads him to do something, this isn't what Sam would have done. She's doing what Al would have done, probably, just like Sam wanted, Al wanted Sam to save Beth and not save the cop, because he was as soon as he found out that Sam was in the right place at the right time to potentially save his marriage. So I mean, Sam was a Boy Scout. They always referred, he was always the Boy Scout. Ben, like you said, we don't know what Ben's really like. He's doing stuff that we wouldn't necessarily see. He's being very reckless. He's not exactly playing things very safe. Like he's like the first episode, he's doing the tango dance with that one henchwoman, or like the stuff with the explosives. I mean, he's doing stuff that it took Sam a while to kind of work up to kind of doing those kinds of leaps,
Yeah.
I mean, like
producers telling them, "Hey, we don't have enough time. We gotta get people. We gotta get people watching." Don't be shy.
Yeah. It definitely could. It definitely can be that. It definitely can be that, and I'm enjoying it. But like I said, last week's episode, when he friggin' removes his carabiner, his link to the shuttle, and just goes for the leap, I'm like, this is some next level stuff. And let's be honest, we never saw sets like this back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, early 90s. I mean, they made everything look legit.
Oh yeah. No, when me and the Wolf Mother first got together, that was one of the outside of the Star Wars trilogies, the originals. The Quantum Leap box set was something that she had to watch in chronological order with me,
Yeah.
And one of the things you notice watching it back, because this is we're already in the 2000s, but a lot of the stock footage that they use to kind of squeeze in there, things being built or being shot in Universal Studios and stuff like that.
Yeah. And, well, I was talking to John earlier about that, like some of the stock footage, like the Watts riots and other scenes like that. It looks very aged, but now like some of the cutscenes they're using for the show, it's looking more HD. It's looking like maybe they might have refilmed some stuff here, or they just touched up some archival footage. But I mean, it's looking way better. Mm-hmm. I'm loving that.
Yeah, and then kudos on the music too. Very era appropriate for this last episode 3.
Yeah, we're getting real music, not like back in Knight Rider, like they would have like someone singing like a poor like karaoke version of something, and they did that in some Quantum Leap episodes because the DVD sets, they kind of like they didn't have the rights for the music.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm glad that they're sticking with the music, and the music's it's some good choices that they're going with.
So the convertible, that was it Danny? Danny was the older brother, the trainer, or
I want to say Danny was the let me see here.
Well, when he pulls up in the convertible, right? There was some debate, and I wanted to save it for here. What kind of car? I'm seeing Camaro, but I'm also seeing
Danny was the boxer he leaped into. His brother was where's this? Daryl. Daryl and Danny. Yeah.
So when Daryl pulls up in the convertible, right? I'm trying to get a good scope of the car, right? I'm seeing Camaro, I'm seeing Cutlass, I'm seeing Chevelle a little bit. Now you see from the head-on angle, you see the side and the quarter panels, and you see the SS down at the bottom on the quarter panel. That was it. The body wise, it looks very Camaro-ish, very Camaro.
Yeah.
That grill looked Cutlass, possibly Chevelle. But
I mean, Chevelle had a good SS run for a while in the Chevelles.
And you get just a brief quarter of a second shot at the tail lights, and they're circular. The Chevelle and the Cutlass had square back in like 68, 72 era. So I'm thinking maybe Camaro. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the convertible?
Well, my 1967 Impala had round lights in the back.
I'm actually see if I can pull it up very quickly.
Yeah, well, it didn't look like an Impala. It didn't.
No, it didn't have the sweep.
It was narrow, but it wasn't. It was Camaro narrow. That's a thing. Yeah, the Firebird was on and cracking back in 77 too. So it very well could have been a Firebird and not a Camaro, or it could have been a Cutlass.
Did they do the Firebird in a convertible? I don't remember doing.
T-top.
Everyone I remember was either T-tops or
I'm thinking
top.
it was did you say Firebird or Thunderbird?
Firebird.
Because I remember was I don't know, you guys might watch Highlander, the series. Duncan MacLeod had that convertible.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it was I want to say that was don't think that was a Firebird. Let's see if I can find out here. As we see cars. Yeah, it definitely looks.
It was a nice car either way.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, the color and everything was.
I like how in this episode they kind of touched on the PTSD as well, like just enough to show it and then talk about it in an era when you didn't talk about it. Just like shut up, drink a beer or something like that back in those days.
Yeah, like the one stream I did with T3 Collects, we did a stream just talking about like stresses and just mental awareness, and we did a whole stream. Sleeping was a part of it, where we kind of just we talk because guys we're kind of at a young age, we're our male figures in our lives, or their lack of, kind of taught you kind of keep things bottled up. You don't have to do that, and I like that they touched on that, but also the fact that, like John said before, they kind of mirrored a lot of things, like the psychological stresses that Daryl was dealing with. Addison was dealing with her own stresses, not sleeping, and she got to the point where she actually collapsed in the imaging chamber. And then at the end, we find out that Daryl actually winds up getting help and starts one of the first groups, support groups for veterans. And then Addison gets her support group, i.e. Magic and the others, come over to the apartment, and they're spending time with her. They're bringing dinner. They're making sure that she's socializing and she's actually, being herself and making sure she's eating and stuff. So they're kind of mirroring things there, and I'm liking that. Ben, one thing we didn't talk about yet was Ben having that, when he's knocked out, having that image of him in a bed. Like, was he remembering Addison in some shape or form in the back of his subconscious? What do you guys think? Because he had a similar moment, I think, in the episode before.
Yeah, could be opening up to something else. And anytime his Swiss cheese memory gets
because what makes me think that is when he says to Addison, will you leap with me? When she tells him that you're not going to be, it's not going to be the next leap or two. We don't know how long. I mean, you're on a trajectory that could be 20 some odd leaps to your destination, let alone getting back. So it looks like you're going to be doing this for a while, and then he kind of claps back with, will you leap with me? Will you be there the entire time? And I want you to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It seems like part of it seems connected, but maybe that's just my mind, drifting, like saying, okay, I want to see some kind of connection, because sometimes you want to see things connect, but maybe they're not connecting, but you're kind of seeing that in your head.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get going soon, guys.
Yeah, it's about 7 after 10. I want to thank everyone for joining, and guys, as anyone who's watching replays, and by the way, we've been getting replays.
Yeah, good.
Last week's stream had over 108 views. About 10 of them was yesterday alone. So we're getting a lot of replays on this. And guys, there's the links. You can go ahead and check out Wolfpack Tour Review. Just look up the Wolfpack Tour Review on YouTube, or you can hit them up on Instagram. Just go ahead and hit _Wolfpack_toy_review right there on Instagram. And of course, Super Awesome Geek Show. You can find him Again, he has his own YouTube channel as well, Super Awesome Geek Show, and also Super Awesome Geek Show on Instagram, and also on Twitter you have, is it Geek Show?
It's Awesome Geek Show on Twitter,
Geek Show on Twitter.
They wouldn't let you use the whole thing
because Twitter has to be Twitter, and of course every single Tuesday 8 p.m. Eastern we do the breakdown of each leap and look into the future of the series. So guys, please join the Leapers. There's always a link for anyone and everyone to join us. And of course, I am Dave's Dimension, nostalgia reviewer, dimension hopping, toy collector, and keeper of chaos and insanity, guys. You find me on Dave's Dimension on YouTube and of course on Instagram as well. But yeah, looking forward to the next leap. We get the first cross-dressing leap. We get him leaping into a woman. So I'm sure that's going to be a little bit interesting to see, like, how does Ben react to that, and will he say yes to the ring? We don't know. But it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to seeing. I mean, it seems like we're getting a decent chunk of Janice in each episode, so it's kind of a given that we're going to see some more teased. But I like that we're getting at, not only are we had the level of, okay, why is Ben doing this? We're trying to figure out things, but then we'll also get that extra X factor of Janice, and then the leap. So it's like we have 3 different lines of story going on here. So I'm definitely digging it. So guys, do you guys have anything going on your channels that you want to plug this week?
I've got a couple things that I hope to review. I mean, I've got some cool sets and things to go through, so I hope to be able to get to those during the week here, but we'll see. I'm really busy with work this week. It's actually a pretty full week, so
gotcha.
It's hard.
Yeah, now tell me about it. I think we're doing week 98 weeks in a row of live stream. We're gonna be hanging it up pretty soon too. So yeah, get it while the getting's good. That's about the only thing. You can check out the toy hunt we did.
Hanging up for now. You know it's gonna call you back.
Right, like it's I keep joking around that I'm gonna take like a 2-week break, and then hey, what's up, guys? Episode 1 of the new revamp. Look, now we got a green light instead of red. Yeah, no, but yeah,
or do the Wolfpack holiday special.
There you go. Yeah,
and holiday season is right around the corner, so you'll get at least 2 episodes.
I'm actually I have a few videos dropping. I have a video dropping Wednesday and Friday, some Marvel selects that I picked up at Steel City Toy Con, the Venom and also the Thor. But I'm actually trying to work it out to do a Halloween haunted house walkthrough in a couple weeks.
Cool.
So we're going to see if that works out. But we're here every Tuesday for the Leapcast, and of course, guys, anyone who's watching this right now, don't forget Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern or 10 p.m. wherever you are in the world, NBC, and of course, the very next day, it's available on Peacock and the NBC app. Quantum Leap 2022. Don't call it a reboot. Don't call it a comeback. It's a continuation, guys. So let's keep it going. So until next
years.
Huh? What?
Sam's been leaping for years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's just catch up on a little. Firebird and Trans Am were never convertible. I remember my cousin Vinny Pontiac. It looks kind of like I pulled up the clip again. It almost kind of looked like a Z28 almost, but maybe an SS of it. It almost kind of looked like a Pontiac a little bit too.
I did see the SS on that right quarter panel.
Yeah, which makes it a GM, so something. Yeah.
Duffman just subbed to Wolfpack. There you go.
Thank you.
Obviously Wolfpack knows where to go for all of his diorama needs.
Oh,
right.
I do now. Hey, message me to Duffman on the IG. Let's talk.
You've seen some of his IG, right?
Duffman's?
Yeah. He's been working on a killer, no pun intended, an amazing killer clowns from outer space diorama.
Yeah.
And like you see his little logo right here, his little icon is all the gremlins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not photoshopped. This guy's got a fleet of gremlins like you wouldn't believe. He's got some pretty, like, who isn't a fan of gremlins? He's got some amazing setups. So go ahead and check him out.
Yeah, definitely.
And we got to keep on collecting. Hopefully a channel or streaming service in Australia picks up the new Quantum Leap show soon. I would definitely think that Peacock should be doing something. I know in the UK they have Sky One among with some other networks, but who knows? There might be other sources that will start carrying it. Whatever those sources may be, I'm sure. With NBC is Universal, it's Comcast. I can't see them not airing it. Maybe airing it a couple months from now, over in other countries, especially like the UK and down in Australia, obviously, maybe over in Asia, like Japan, Hong Kong, maybe Russia. That's what they really need to do is like, okay, we're getting good ratings here, but guys, it's a worldwide. And that's one thing I'm hoping for is we get some worldwide leaping. Maybe we get Ben leaping in different countries because we really didn't see that with Sam. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. I mean, he leaped out in space. So the rules of quantum leap, I mean, let's really take it somewhere. Are we going to get him leaping into Shogun? Are we going to get him leaping into King Arthur's court? I mean, we don't know yet. That's a little bit jumping the shark. But hey, you just never know. But we're wrapping it up. The Leapers will be back next week. And by the way, the Leapers are not just the three of us. Anyone and everyone, if you watch the show or you're a fan of the original, you want to hop on, discuss. I'm thinking on weeks that we have reruns, maybe we will review episodes of the original series, or maybe we'll just have a nice little hangout discussion stream, guys. So that's it. Any final words?
Stay awesome out there, everyone.
Keep on leaping.
And guys, you know what I'm going to say. I say it every time. Keep on busting. And we will always catch you on the flip side. So take care. If I can find my outro.